we live? What up, people? It's your boy, the host with the most. I do not brag or boast. I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. It's your boy. I'm Chris the Dumb One. How y'all living? How y'all living? How y'all living? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to hit the subscription button, the notification bell, share this live with your friends, family, as well as your followers. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. You heard me? Live and direct at the bungalow. Live and direct at the bungalow. How y'all living? I'm living swell. Hope everyone had a great Tuesday. Now, before we get into today's video, first I'd like to state this. I did do a live stream late this evening, like around 4, 5 o'clock, about 4-ish a.m. I did it, and I watched it. It looked real bad. It looked real bad, and I wasn't feeling it. So I deleted the video. I said to myself, self, you can do way, way better than what you put out last night. It was real dark. I had 2 lights on. You could barely see me. I was like pretty much in the dark. So I said, I ain't feeling this. I'm going to exit, delete this one, and try again. Try again later on this evening. So I said to myself, why not now? Why don't you just do it now, Chris? So yes, I'm doing it right now. So let's start it all over. Rewind. Welcome to another edition of Based on a True Story podcast. It's your host, your moderator. I'm Chris the Don One. I basically talk about stories about my life. I also talk about current events and things of that nature. All right. So get at me, subscribe and enjoy. Will not be disappointed. Yes, I'm laying down in the bed. I'm laying down. Okay. I guess I could grab a couple of pillows. Lay your head on my pillow and just relax. Okay, so I've been noticing my lives, my numbers ain't where they used to be. Don't know what's going on with that, but we're just gonna, just bear with this live, and we're just gonna keep it pushing. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into today's topic. Okay. So can I get it? Yeah, I think that's cool. So today's topic, I'm gonna be talking about a lot of things. I'm gonna be all over the place with this live. Um, I was watching someone's live, and she was talking about 4 things you should not do with a female when dating them. And I noticed something. There's been a trend on social media that a lot of people are dating gurus, dating experts. Everyone wants to be a Cheyenne Bryan for some reason. Everybody wants to be a Kevin Samuel. Seems like everybody, male and female, feel like they have the secret sauce when it comes to dealing with men or dealing with women or just dealing in relationships and things of that nature. And to me, you have to take people's advice, people's opinion with a tablespoon of salt. Okay. Um, you can't think that's the gospel. That is the way. That's the right way of doing things. Okay. So she was talking about 4 things to do when dating a woman, 4 or 5 things, something like that. And I was saying to myself, everybody's got these self-help videos, these self-help books, these self-help articles, posts, blogs, podcasts about giving relationship advice. Look, man, And to understand to having a successful relationship, I look at it like this. Okay. I would not value the advice of someone who is single, who has a hard time being in committed relationships, who's always with a different partner or a different personal person, and who goes both ways, that date men and women. Okay, I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm not saying I'm denouncing that. I'm just saying, me personally, I might have a hard time taking your advice when I look at your track record. You don't have a very good track record with relationships. Okay, but I will respect your opinion. I will expect your advice. But to me, I think people overcomplicate things, particularly in relationships. And I know things are kind of weird out there. People, um, I know it's weird out there because people date people for the wrong things. You know, there's uh, you know, there's honestly when you're going, and this could be for males and females. People date for the wrong reasons. People date because that person is a baddie. She's a baddie, or you're dating him because he's rich, uh, or wealthy, or got some type of influence. So that's why you dating this person. When in actuality, this has been, when you talk about dating and relationship, the best relationships, the best relationships are the ones that y'all are attracted to one another. That I feel like that's the introduction to a relationship. You like what you see, she likes what she sees. Okay, I think that's the gateway before we can evolve into an actual couple. You have to have a lot of interests. You have to have a lot of things in common, not the fact that she's a baddie, or you have a lot of money, she has influence, or you have influence, or whatever. I think people look at I think people look at how they meet people very, very differently. Okay. And two, you got to realize when you're, you know, evolving yourself into a relationship takes a lot of time, takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of figuring out. Okay. If you're the type of person that don't ask questions, you could have been in a great relationship, but you didn't ask the right questions to maintain that relationship, and now you're no longer seeing that person, and now you're you know trying it out with someone else. I feel like with relationships, um relationships, it's trial and error. You're going to screw up a lot more than you hitting it out the park. So, you have to learn from your mistakes, particularly when you're out there and you're trying to find Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. Okay. You're going to have to leave yourself vulnerable for making mistakes. Now, I do feel like men as well as women, when someone makes a mistake, they penalize that person so much where they don't want to be in a relationship with them. I feel like some mistakes are salvable. You can salvage a relationship with some mistakes. Other mistakes you can't. I'm not saying, if he goes out and cheats on you, you should give him a second chance. I mean, I think that's between you and that particular person. Um, but I do feel like we give up way too fast. Sometimes we give up so fast. We haven't even started the relationship yet. You dig what I'm saying? So I think you have to have a mutual understanding. It has to be a mutual attraction to the person that you're interested in. It can't be about, oh, she's a baddie, I want to hook up with her, I want to be in a relationship with her, or and it definitely can't be, oh, he's rich, I want to hook up with him. I think our mindsets are wired so differently. We value other things besides, well, how do you really feel about that person? Are you attracted to that person? Do you have some type of empathy for that person? Do you care about that person? So yeah, um, I feel like people need to, and it's getting back to how relationships were formed, like in the old times. Is getting back to that point. I feel like social media has ruined relationships or developing relationships because people believe what they see on TikTok, what they see on social media. And two, people don't um, have the patience to follow through. People have this microwave way of thinking, this TikTok way of thinking. Like people don't want to, don't want to invest any time into anything. Everyone thinks that everything is instant. You want to go out? Yeah, I want to go out. You want to be with me? Yeah, I want to be with you. And then that's it. So yeah, I mean, you know, 10 ways of finding a guy, 5 ways of finding a woman, 4 things not to say to a woman, 7 things on not to what you look for in a man, red flags, things of that nature. I think with relationships, if y'all not feeling one another, if y'all don't have a mutual attract, if you're not attracted to them, and when I say attracted, it has to be more than just what you see on the outside. It's also gotta be on the inside too. Sometimes people be in bad relationships because, oh man, she's a baddie. She's got a fat, she got a fat ass, or she's gotta be worth something. She gotta be valued to something. Or, oh man, he's rich. He has a car, he has a house, he has a great job. It has to be more to it than just that. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. Let me see. Do I got any? No. All right. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. Not to spend a whole live stream talking about it because it's really not a lot to talk about. If you don't have some type of, if you're not attracted to her and she's not attracted to you, then I mean, those are the building blocks to a successful relationship before you can even start. And two, y'all got to have patience. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Sometimes it takes time. Like Kai, what's his name? Kai Sasent, the streamer. He broke up with his girlfriend, and now he's just in a weird space right now. Um, and I'm pretty sure he's going through a lot of emotions, but the signs were there. Sometimes we don't look at the signs. Sometimes we make excuses or just not look at the signs. But if she only liked you because you were popular, or if she only liked you because you was rich or you had clout, and she was trying to juice some of your clout so she can have clout, then that wasn't going to be a good relationship in the first place. I mean, if she was a real one, she wouldn't care if she was on the live stream, or she wouldn't care if she was posted on social media. Okay, so now they're talking about maybe he's going to end streaming. He done streaming? Well, he definitely said he's done with relationships, and I think that's a knee jerk way because he was hurt by this girl. Obviously, he cared about this girl, but did he love this girl? That's what you need to ask yourself. Did you really love her, or you just love being around her? So you really don't know because y'all really didn't know each other. Y'all didn't invest enough time into one another. Your strengths and weaknesses. So yeah. I mean, I wish the best of luck for him, but I feel like the next time you find yourself in a relationship, look at the signs, pay attention. I mean, why are y'all in a relationship in the first place? You dig what I'm saying? But yeah, that's all I want to talk about relationship. I didn't want to spend the whole live stream talking about that. The next thing I want to talk about is what I talked about last night. Another topic was AI. A lot of people feel like AI is taking over. Everyone has these Terminator type of scenarios that the machines are going to take over. They're going to take over our jobs. They're going to take over our production. And people talking about, well, how, they're going to get rid of jobs and things of that nature. Um, I want to say this. I'm a huge component of AI. Okay. I do feel like, you know, the AI that we have right now are doing some remarkable things, but we're so far from even thinking about AI just totally eliminating jobs. I do feel like it is eliminating some jobs, but I don't feel like it's going to eliminate all jobs. Okay, because you're going to have some type of labor. Someone's going to have to do some type of labor, and there's some things AI can't do. Now, a lot of people point to the driveless semi trucks, and how they're delivering packages and things of that nature, where they don't need to hire so many drivers and things of that nature. I get all that. I understand that, but it's not like this happened like yesterday. Like, if you've been on point, you knew that this day was going to come sooner rather than later. So you should be preparing yourself for the next step. Um, and think of the possibilities that, the job that you have right now could be taken over by AI. So, like I said last night, I was talking about, like, I wanted to talk to a live customer service rep from AT&T about my phone bill, because I noticed something about my phone bill. It was odd. I'm like, they charged me for something that I didn't ask for. So I call AT&T, and then they got that automated service thing. So I'm going through the automated service thing. I really want to talk to a live person. So you know how the automated service thing, it keeps going on and on and on. The automated service thing wants to help you and things of that nature. So I waited until they went to you go through so many layers just to finally talk to somebody. And then I finally heard, if you want to talk to a representative, hit 6 or 7 or something like that. So I hit the number, and I was waiting for a live person. And I finally spoken to a live person about my bill, and she fixed it right away. You know, versus going to the app and typing in your issue, and the bot on the app, the AI on the app is going to try to help you with your problem. I don't want that. Okay. I want to speak to a live person so they can fix it right then and there, which they did. So I was chopping it up with the lady, and she was telling me that AT&T, they're laying off customer service reps. She was shocked that I even got her, because they done got, and AT&T is, I mean, this call center was based in Atlanta. Well, in Georgia. I want to say Georgia. And she was, talking about how they're getting rid of a lot of the representatives that's at the call centers, because now they're going to fully utilize AI. She said it won't be long until they get rid of all call centers, and it's going to be all AI. Either you handle your problem through the automated thing through the phone, or you handle it through the app. Those are going to be the only two ways you're going to be able to handle your problem. Um, and she was telling me it won't be long until they get rid of all of them. So I'm like, oh man, that's effed up. You know what I'm saying? Because I have some sympathy and empathy for people that's losing their job, particularly when people do a good job. Okay. if you come up to you tell me, oh man, my job gonna lay me off because, you know, they are going totally AI, I would feel a certain kind of way about that. You dig what I'm saying? So, I felt bad for the lady, okay? And I even stayed online to give her a solid grade. I gave her an A plus. I don't think that's going to help because I think that will, keep her a little bit longer, but not too long. But, when she was telling me that, I was going like, wow, man, AI has gotten this far. Who would have, when you were a kid in the 90s or in the 80s, you see the movies, you see the Terminator movies, you see all these science fiction movies, and you say to yourself, oh man, that's just science fiction. That's not science fact. That's not, we'll never get to that point. And now, life is imitating art. You got these supercomputers, you got AI, you got robots. The robots are advancing. You got driveless cars. You know, and the world is changing. The world is evolving. I can remember when I was a kid, and I remember this. I can remember this. Like right now, like it happened yesterday. I remember when I went to the supermarket with my mom. I wasn't a kid. I was maybe like a teenager or something like that. I don't know. I wasn't a kid. I wasn't like 7 or 8 years old. But I remember going into the supermarket with my mom, and that was the day they introduced self checkouts. Now, self checkouts has been around. It's just in the small county we lived in, it just wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big thing. So they introduced self checkouts, and I remember customers were mad as hell. Even my mom was mad as hell. Like, I'm never using self checkout because they're taking away opportunities and jobs from the cashiers, and the cashiers need support. They need for us to go to in their lines, let them check out our groceries, and the baggers need an opportunity. The baggers need to bag the groceries and get carts and things of that nature. I remember my mom was so, you know, you know, fixated on that. I remember customers saying the same thing. Oh, I'm never using self checkout. I will never use self checkout. And now, when you look at it, fast forward to today, there's more self checkout registers than there are cashiers. And now it's okay. It seems like everybody's okay with self checkouts. Okay, and it just and that was in a span of like 20 years. That's a 20-year span, maybe less than 20 years. So if people, like I said, people were hard up. They was hard on pause on not using self checkouts. Then after 8 or 9 years, they're like, now everybody uses self checkouts. You know, because people saying, I don't give a fuck. It's not my job. So what I gotta check now? It's now customers are saying it's okay to check out your own groceries. Sometimes I go in and I see older people saying, "Well, I'm not using it. I'm waiting. I'm waiting back here until they open up a register." And you have other customers looking at them like, why would you want to do that? You can get checked out. You check yourself down. He said, and I remember it was a white dude. He said, I just got off from work. I didn't get off the work. I didn't come off the work to come to the grocery store to work. I'm not working for free. And everybody looking at him like he's weird. Like, dude, you weird, man. Like, that don't make no sense. Don't you want to go home? But see, that's how they throw it in your face. Like, hey, you want to get out? It's an express lane. You want to get out? Then use the self checkout lane. You'll be out of here much more faster than waiting for somebody to open up a register. That's how they don't advertise it as, hey, this is another job that you're not gonna get paid for. You dig what I'm saying? So, um, yeah, I mean, we came a long way from cashiers to self checkout. I remember, people used to write checks for their groceries. They either use check or cash. Now people use Apple Pay. They use Cash App, a PayPal. We're gone away from money. We're not even. I don't hardly ever see anybody using money. Uh, you know, Shout out to Crystals. Like we have one Crystals. We used to have like 5 Crystal restaurants in my area. Now we only got like one Crystals restaurant in the whole entire area. And I was like standing in line, waiting, getting my burgers and things of that nature. And then as I pulled up to the little window, it says on the window, due to them no longer making pennies, they're gonna round off change if you are using cash, and then they had this chart of how they're going to round it off. And I'm going like, damn, we done went a long way. We went from, when I was a kid, man, I used to collect pennies every day, all day. Be pennies laying around the house. You pick them up. Them pennies add up. When you're out and about, that change adds up. And now we're no longer going to make pennies no more. Now they say that it costs us more money to make the pennies cost more, production wise. So that's why they're going to, stop making pennies, and it'll save us in the long run. Okay, but man, just think about that, folks. Like just like the 90s was not that like what like the 90s wasn't that far from where we are today. If you just go from the 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020, I mean, that's not that long. That's not long ago. Okay, it may look long ago for somebody, you know, man, that's a long time. I guarantee somebody saying that's a long time, Chris. Man, what are you talking about? But just think about it. That's really a short time that you take AI. It was on the drawing board, and now AI is heavily influenced in everything. You dig what I'm saying? So just in 10 years, you see how medication technology, society has changed in a short time, a decade, less than a decade. We're thinking differently, we're acting differently, we're doing things differently. You know, that's just the nature of the beast. Evolution. Evolution has you know went that fast. You dig what I'm saying? I remember 10 years ago, I want to say about maybe 15 years ago, game consoles. Like game consoles was the popping thing. Exclusives matter. Like every console had an exclusive. Like Xbox had Halo, Gears, and Forza. PlayStation had Uncharted, Killzone. They had Ratchet and Clank, and Nintendo had Mario. Okay, and now when you fast forward today, there's no exclusives. Now, who would have thunk like 15, 20 years ago that you will be able to play Halo on a PlayStation? Who would ever thunk that the possibility of playing a PlayStation game on an Xbox console? 20 years ago, people would be laughing at you if you would have said that. Or who would ever thunk that, Microsoft no longer makes Xbox? You would say that 20 years ago, saying, I bet y'all $100 Microsoft gives up and they stop making consoles. People would take that bet like, are you crazy? Are you high? Are you smoking? But that just goes to show life changes. You dig what I'm saying? Things that we were doing 15, 20 years ago, we're not doing it anymore. This is even far back for me. I'm pretty sure people, when they watch this, it's going to be far back for them. But I guarantee you, people in the 50s and 60s were doing the same stuff that people were doing in the 70s. I mean, evolution wasn't going that fast. Technology wasn't, moving that fast. Medication, stuff that you had to deal with in the 50s and the 60s, you had to deal with it to a certain extent in the 70s. And that's like a 30-year gap. You know, cars are still running the same. They may look different, but they were running the same. The medication was the same. Uh, you know, uh, technology didn't even exist. You dig what I'm saying? And now when you add technology, look how things are moving now. Look how fast technology is moving now. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just one of those things. Okay. So before I end this, I want to do a quick story. Because this would be based on a true story podcast if I didn't do a quick story. All right. This is gonna be a real fast, quick story. All right. So I remember this when I was a kid. Okay, I remember this when I was a kid. All right. So I was in middle school. I was in middle school. No, I was in high school. I was in like the first years of high school. When you're in high school, think your first year in high school is going to be way different than your third year or your fourth year in high school. It's just different, so I was my first year of high school, and I'm just trying to fill it out because high school was different than elementary school. High school is different than middle school. You dig what I'm saying? So there was this dude named Clifford Kirby. I think his name was Kirby. I know his first name was Clifford. Okay. So Clifford was kind of touched by an angel, if you dig what I'm saying. All right. And that was a time when the special kids would be in the same classroom with the regular kids. They didn't really separate them too much. Okay. So Clifford had needs. He was special. You dig what I'm saying? But Clifford was cool. Nobody didn't bother Clifford. Clifford was like 6'4". He had to been like almost 280, close to 300 pounds. He was a big dude, big solid dude. Had no athleticism, could not move worth a lick. If he was on fire, the only way you were gonna be able to put out that fire, you had to piss on him. Okay, that's how that was Clifford. All right, Clifford was slow. All right, but Clifford, he was like Clifford was like one of those beautiful mind type students. He may have been slow, but Clifford was kind of smart up there, because Clifford would constantly read books. Clifford would constantly, he was curious about constellations and equations and things of that nature. Okay. So even though Clifford was special, he was special in that way, and he was special as a human being. Okay, let's just put it like that way. So we was in the library. Okay, Clifford and his the students. I mean, Clifford and their students and the regular students. Okay, we're all in the library, right? So we're all picking out books, we're reading books and things of that nature. Some of us is watching videos, some of us is on the internet, just a relaxed day. It wasn't nothing strict. It wasn't like the teacher told us to do a project or anything. She just figured, hey man, let me send y'all to the library. I can catch up on what I gotta do, and y'all can just mosey around the library. Okay, it wasn't no serious day like that. Okay, so we're all like some of us reading books, some of us watching videos, some of us on the internet, whatnot. Okay, so one thing about Clifford was not sociable. He was not a sociable person, and Clifford rarely talked to anybody. You know, Clifford, the only people Clifford will only talk to people that he trusts. Okay, and he would talk to me sometimes, and he would talk to his sister a lot, and he would talk to another guy that's in his class. But to anybody else in my class, Clifford is not talking to you. Okay, Because, you have to really know, because Clifford felt like everybody would make fun of him, which they did. Everybody made fun of Clifford, okay? They talk about how special Clifford was, okay? I would joke on Clifford, but I wouldn't, joke about that. You dig what I'm saying? So, like I said, we was in the library, all right? So, I noticed, I looked at Clifford. He's at the table. He's wobbling back and forth, holding his stomach and stuff. So I walk over there and I say, "Hey man, what's up, Cliff? What's up, Cliff?" Trying, made a little joke. "What's up, Cliff, Cliff?" And he was telling me, "Man, I'm just not feeling good today." So I said, "Man, Cliff, go tell the teacher that you're not feeling good. Maybe she'll excuse you to the restroom. Okay? Well, not maybe, she'll probably excuse you to the restroom." So I'm going like, "Yeah, just tell somebody." Okay? But Clifford was super, super shy. Okay? That was Clifford MO. Clifford was super, super shy. You did? And he wasn't the type of person that's going to get up and tell the teacher that he has to go use the restroom. Clifford was one of the type of individuals, he would rather hold it and wait for the teacher to walk over there and ask him what's wrong, and then tell him then say, "Hey, I gotta go use the restroom." And then the teacher say, "Well, go use the restroom then. Why are you holding it so long?" Clifford was one of them type of individuals. Okay. Now I'm a kid. You dig what I'm saying? As an adult, I would have, walked over there and told the teacher, "Hey, ma'am, Clifford gotta go use the restroom. He's too shy to tell you that. Hey, can he please go to the restroom?" Of course she would have said, "Yeah, tell him to go to the restroom." I'm a kid. I ain't thinking like that. You dig what I'm saying? I'm not even thinking like that. I'm thinking like a kid, So I'm gone back. I went back to my table, messing around, being naive and all that shit. And I heard a weird sound. Now it was a fart. Now, people wasn't really paying attention because we had those hardwood floors. We had hardwood floors and we had wooden chairs. And sometimes if you scoot it just right, it'll sound like a fart. So people thought that it was the chair making a noise, and everybody did a little giggle, a little giggle, yeah, okay? But I knew it was a fart because, it just sounded a little bit different. Plus, there was a stench in the air, okay? So I'm looking over back at Clifford. Now, Clifford is really hungover. I mean, he's really in pain. So I walk back over. I said, "Man, I said, man, why you ain't told the teacher, man, what got you to use the restroom?" I said, "What you got to do, the number one or the number two?" Clifford said he had to do the number two. So I said, "Clifford, go tell the teacher." Look, on retrospect, hindsight being 2020, I should have just went on and told the teacher Clifford had to take a dump. All right, but like I said, I was a kid. You shouldn't expect me to go over there and tell the teacher about what's going on with Clifford. Clifford, he gotta do that. He did what I'm saying. Plus, I didn't know how much bad. I didn't know how bad he had to go. I just knew he had to go. Okay, so I went back to my chair, messing around with my friends, and I'm over there, eyeing down this girl, like it's this white girl, and man, that was the first, like y'all gotta understand something. In kindergarten, it was nothing but black. It was like no women. In pre-K, it was nothing but black kids. You know what I'm saying? Kindergarten, black kids. First through fourth grade, black kids. When you get into middle school, you start seeing the whole melting pot of society. You not only see black kids, but you see white kids, you see Asian kids, you see Dominican kids, you see African kids, you see all types of different kids from different type of nationalities and different type of religions. Okay, that's when you start experiencing. Okay, this world is a whole lot bigger than what I thought it was. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so I'm here ironing down this white girl, man. I had a little case of jungle fever. I mean, this girl, she had a little ponytail, and she had, I'm a kid. You know what I'm saying? I'm a kid. So I'm not saying that I wanted to, I had a little flirtation with the white girl, okay, because I'm a black kid, you know what I'm saying? But she wasn't feeling me that way, because you know I just knew she didn't feel me that way, okay. So I'm up here talking. I'm up here, flirting around with her, trying to get eye contact, things of that nature. And then I heard a like a trumpet, like somebody blew the last air in a trumpet. Okay. And I made a comment, there she blows, and everybody starts laughing and stuff. Now, I don't know why the teacher jumps on me talking about, Chris, could you just behave for just once? It's always my fault, okay? But I was like a class clown. I took it in stride, okay? So I ain't thinking much of it. So now I'm paying back to Clifford. Man, Clifford is in extreme pain. I mean, he looks like he's in extreme pain. And next thing I know, Clifford said, I can't hold it much longer. And dude started, he said, I'm sorry. He had tears rolling down his eyes. He's saying he's sorry. And I'm going like, sorry for what? So, I heard a fart noise. So I'm thinking that he's sorry that he had to bust a fart in the middle of the library. No big deal, okay? But that wasn't it. Clifford done shit all on himself, okay? There was shit oozing out of the side of his pants. It was oozing down his pants legs. It was all over, okay? Man, as kids, we're acting like, like the shit can just get up and just touch us. We're all running out. We're all running away, going, ooh, everybody scream. All the girls are screaming. We're pointing and stuff like that. I felt bad for Clifford. You dig what I'm saying? And he's up there crying. He was crying like a baby, man. And the teacher told us to go back. She told us to go to the other side of the library. She looked down at Clifford. She was talking to Clifford. I don't know what she was saying to Clifford, but she was talking to Clifford. Next thing I know, the maintenance guy came in there, cleaned up the shit. Clifford had to get up. I think they took him to the little clinic thing, little hospital clinic type thing in the school, and then they called his parents. And that was the last I saw Clifford for the rest of the year. For the rest of the year, Clifford was so embarrassed. Clifford just stayed in that class. They didn't, they stopped doing the, mixing the two classes together. Out of respect from Clifford and his parents. You dig what I'm saying? Because they didn't want Clifford to be mixed in, because they thought we as kids were going to mock him, which we would have. We would have roasted him. We would have mocked him. But I would have done it for the love. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't going to say nothing heinous to Clifford, So that was pretty much it. Okay, that was pretty much it for that story. Now, probably wondering, whatever happened to Clifford? Last time I saw Clifford was in high school. I ain't seen Clifford none after that, okay? But I'm pretty sure Clifford is a professor somewhere at some major college. Because Clifford had a bright mind. It's just, everything else about him, is questionable, But, we all heard of people like Clifford who are highly intelligent, but just don't have it up there as far as social skills. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me see. Nope. I thought I had some comments. No comments. That's cool. That's cool. So I hope y'all enjoyed this latest episode of Based on a True Story podcast. It's your host, your moderator, the host with the most. I truly don't brag or boast, but I'm coming to you guys coast to coast.
I'll see you guys in the next live. I might do it tonight and go from there. But I'll see you. See you. We won't be here. I'm up out of here. Peace. I'm gone.